Good morning. Thank you for joining us for the news review, and we're about to get right into it. I'm joined by Samuel Kotobris. Charlie, put it there. I mean, you know that.
Yeah, it's the action. It's UGUCC. That's
Yeah. UGUCC.
Yeah.
You were bringing in the UCC thing. There's something that. But today I'll not cut you down to size. I'll not cut you down to size.
But you know it's difficult for a UG person to cut a UCC person.
Oh,
down to size,
it's an everyday thing. We do it every day.
Well, I don't know.
But UCC, I mean, I just like the fact that your pedigree. I mean, to which institutions can I compare you to? I don't want to do that this morning because some people may take it the wrong way. But you have a good pedigree. You're just not at the level of.
Well, for your information, we are the number one in research in West Africa. Hold on. We are number one in Ghana. We are fourth in Africa. I don't know where you lie, so please give us.
But
give us
you
the,
know,
give
on
us
that
the
same
respect.
log this year, and there are different, organizations that.
But you can't beat
studies
times.
or this.
You can't beat times.
Times higher.
Yes, you can't beat it.
The only bit is we've been here so many times. The fact that you are here, I mean, once in every 10 years or so, and you make noise about it. For those who are constantly there, I mean, there's no need to trumpet it. This is commonplace to us.
Okay. For your information, last year or two, we were here. So really, it's not once in every 10 years, please. Let's move on.
So twice in every 10 years.
That's not it. I mean, we're always there. University
you
of
were
Cape
here
Coast
where?
is always there.
Where you were here where?
I mean, we are highly ranked when it comes to research.
You are highly ranked.
Exactly.
You were not the top school.
We were. We've been and we are.
Ayo.
Yeah. So that's it.
This morning.
But forgive me, University of Ghana student and alumni. The truth is one. You only have to give due respect to the University of Cape Coast. We are the number one in research in Ghana, in West Africa, and fourth in Africa. And that's something that you have to work hard to beat. So that's it, yeah.
Anyway, so let's do this. What is your fuel situation like now?
So what I did from last week's experience was to come and patch my cousin who lives in Dansoman.
Okay, because you come through Lashibi, right?
Exactly. So I'm living in Lashibi. So I have to drive all the way here every day. So when I looked at my expenditure the other week, I said, no, that's not sustainable. So we spoke on Sunday. He said, Charlie, come and lodge over. So I've been at Dansoman since Sunday. So the whole week I've driven to work from Dansoman. And look, my fuel expenditure is 350 cedis the whole of the week from Dansoman. So it's improved tremendously. And it's been positive so far.
Anyway, well, we keep grappling with the situation.
What about yours?
Hey, Masa, Yankon.
Because you have not moved.
Again. No, yesterday. I had to top up again, and trust me, I am bleeding already. You know, when you top up like that and you try and once you see the first bar go.
Yes.
Now I come out.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I do.
Because once it goes, you know that Wahala don't come. It's not moved yet. I filled only yesterday.
Okay.
It's not moved yet by God's grace. Sometimes we even add prayer to the filling. Then you be praying so that the weight of the something.
Yeah. But you realize now you look at your gauge as you move.
I started that months ago.
Charlie.
You know, I laugh at myself. I share with friends and I laugh at myself because previously I don't remember any year in my driving life where I am consciously, maybe unless you know that you are running out and you just want to ensure that maybe you can make it to the next filling station. So you keep an eye on it. But in my entire driving life, I have never had to do this until this year, where consciously, every time, every few minutes, my eye goes there. In fact, it's unconscious. It's not even planned. I just find my eyes going there because my brain sort of tells me, Charlie, is your fuel running out? Is your fuel running out? And it's a real pity. But anyway.
Maybe we have to look for places closer to our workplace.
No, that's another situation. But have you, on a more serious note, have you inquired in Kokomlemle, in terms of accommodation? Massa. Like we see Prato will say, massa.
But from my expenditure in fuel, even if they are taking
that's a good point.
I may take that one.
Checks and balances.
Yeah. Because if you look at the fuel expenditure, if I use my last week expenditure alone, it means that a month I may be spending close to 4,000 cedis on fuel.
I spent over 4,000.
You see, but accommodation, a decent accommodation can charge more than 1,500. So I'd rather take that one.
Cut your losses.
Exactly.
I mean, imagine you were somewhere close by and you could even walk, maybe a 5-7 minutes, let's say 10-minute walk.
Yeah.
You leave the car parked.
So it means
walk
that
here,
I save 2,500 from fuel expenditure a month if I should live close. So Charlie, right now we're going to look for a house which is close to our workplace now. Because we can't cope with what's happening.
I am actually already searching. But today I'll be sharing my blunt thoughts just to share with you on Ghana's leadership experiment gone horribly wrong.
Oh.
Unveiling the frauds.
Really?
Ghana's leadership experiment gone horribly wrong. Unveiling the frauds.
You feel we've been experimenting with our leadership thing?
We have.
And we've gotten it wrong this time.
Do you remember Someche?
Yeah.
Try me.
I do. Well, your sentiment is shared by Afriye Ankara. You remember him? Elvis Afriye Ankara. Yeah, he's submitted his forms or filed his forms to contest as General Secretary of the NDC. And he said voting for the president was the worst experiment Ghanaians have ever engaged in. So maybe the two of you are thinking alike. Anyway.
Well, let's get into the papers, bro. Let's find out. What do you have? The Ghanaian Times?
I have the Ghanaian Times, the Daily Guide, and the Finder.
There's an interesting story in the Finder about Majority Leader Oseichi Mensah Bonsu. We'll be getting into that as well. But let's check out what you have in the Ghanaian Times news.
Anyway, so let's start from the Ghanaian Times. Now, let's reform UN Security Council. President appeals to the world leaders. 10% Ghanaians diabetic. Whoa. NDAG president says. And Aisha Wan refused bail again. Now, let's start with the Aisha Wan case, because it's an interesting one everybody is following. Aisha Wan, the Chinese woman accused of engaging in illegal mining, on Wednesday broke down when the Accra High Court turned down an application for bail again. However, Aisha Wan's lawyer, Captain Retired Nkrabia Efadate, reapplied for bail, explaining that his client, I'm sure they wanted to write his, was on bail during her trial in 2017. The defense counsel said, and I quote, "I am not saying you should leave her. I'm only asking that as the case continues, please allow her liberty in terms of movement, subject to the condition that the court would indicate. 5 years ago, while my client was on trial on similar charges, she never absented herself from any of the court sitting date," end of quote. Well, it ties in with Professor Michael Quay's lecture within the week. You know, he's been contributing to the constitutional review that's organized by the IEA. And he says that judgment that the Supreme Court gave on Martin Pegu's case, that made every case bailable, must be re-looked at. He feels that it is not something we have to look at. Now, other people have reacted and have said that even though the Supreme Court gave that judgment, it lies in the bosom of the judge to grant someone bail or not. And this case is quite critical.
Yeah.
That even though every case is bailable now, the judge sitting on this case says, I am not going to give you bail. I'm going to keep you with the security agencies, so that they can produce you any time they want to, and again to help them in their investigation.
And there's precedent in terms of these situations. You remember the first time when she supposedly absconded?
Yeah.
You know, there are so many different angles to that conversation and the story, but I guess there are some reasons for this enterprise that is being. But of course, we've moved from the bailable and non-bailable offenses, like you said, Martin Pebu's court case, which was a landmark case, but I guess the buck stops with the courts.
Let's see how it goes. But this judge has really declared her intention that she really wants to help to deal with this illegal mining. So let's see how this one goes. Now, let's reform UN. But in relation to that, yesterday there was a story we brought to our viewers.
Yeah. What Mr. President has been saying?
No. I mean on the Galamsey thing. You remember this a place in Ashanti region where a lady died when she was sitting on the toilet in a house.
I think I recall a story like that.
The young man who spoke to JoyNews was beaten mercilessly.
Oh, that one, yes.
By some Galamseyers. And the shocking thing is that the DCE's name was mentioned in this, and according to our reporter, the DCE has not taken any action. And it really raises eyebrows that your name was mentioned as being the one who is, funding some people. And they've beaten this young man at the center of this whole thing. And then no action has been taken on it. I think the DCE should really act as the head of that.
There should be some action. I've seen footage of the person speaking, and it's really pathetic. I mean, it's really sad.
Now, let's reform UN Security Council. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has called for the reform of the Security Council of the United Nations, describing the current structure as an injustice against African countries. Speaking at an event organized by the Konrad Adenauer Foundation yesterday in New York, President Akufo-Addo noted that the Security Council was constrained by its anachronistic structure. Ben, you are the English master.
Anachronistic.
What does that mean?
So more like antiquated, no longer relevant.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Redundant.
Okay. A farmer learning from the English person, so please bear with me.
You are not, remember your dabble.
Yeah, I'm a farmer, President Akufo-Addo noted the Security Council was constrained by its anachronistic structure and methods, which undermined efforts to tackle contemporary challenges in the most effective manner. According to the president, the current structure of the UN Security Council represented a long-standing injustice towards the countries of Africa, and the time is long overdue in addressing it. So that's our president putting the African case out there. I think the call is that involve more African countries to have permanent seat on the Security Council as well. It's not a case where we will be voted in for a period and then we'll go off because we don't have permanent seats there.
Right.
It's time an African country. And I'm sure when they look at the continent, they may get
three countries come to mind.
Okay.
I mean, and they are the economic juggernauts of the continent. Egypt, South Africa, Nigeria.
Well,
at least one of them can do it. I would, Nigeria, yes, but owing to some, reputational issues sometimes. I would put all three of them, but I would go for either South Africa or Egypt.
Well,
that would be me.
Exactly.
My knowledge of international politics, I would go for one of the two.
Now, you gave a beautiful condition that with the reputational issues, you'd go for the two. And I think a lot of people will analyze which of the three should get onto the council if the need should arise, would also go on that tangent that, well, Nigeria is a powerhouse, Egypt is, South Africa is, but looking at reputation-wise, you may have to choose either of Egypt or South Africa. So you're right out there. But this story must get on.
And if you hadn't even mentioned it, I would have brought you back. I was going to bring you back. The 10% issue.
Exactly, yes. Now, about 10% of the Ghanaian population is diabetic. President of the National Diabetes Association, Ghana, Elizabeth A.C. Denyo, has said. Now, according to her, the prevalence of the disease continued to soar in the country, and it was important that citizens take seriously the practice of regularly testing to know their sugar levels for prompt management and care. And I think I'm told that for those of us who live, they call it sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah, sedentary. So you are sitting most of the time. You are not active. You don't work out. You don't walk much. Car to work, car back home. Not much walking. You're sitting. Or for those who are couch potatoes, like we call them, they don't go anywhere. They're at home, sitting in the couch, watching television. In the US, you would find some of those throughout the day. Yeah, it's a recipe for, health disaster.
So can we use our up and downs at work as part of the working out?
That's why some of these smartwatches recently, they measure your walking in the course of the day. Some would peg you at 10,000 steps, 15,000, depending on your settings. It's all part of it.
Okay.
I do a hike. It's been over a month because I fell sick, I traveled and all of that. But I do this hike about 10, 11 kilometers every week, once every week. I do other things. Because if you don't do that, looking at the sort of things we are eating nowadays, the sort of lives we're leading, the sort of stress, the stresses we are under. If you don't do some of these things, you'll find yourself in hot places.
And diabetics is quite dangerous if you get there. When they say someone is diabetic, so we all have to exercise to ensure that we don't get to that level. And like she said, we need to test to understand or to get to know our sugar levels. Because if you know earlier, I think they can put you on remediary
at least to prevent you from
getting there. Because I've seen people who are diabetic and look,
You could even go into diabetic shock.
It's very pleasant.
There are so many things when there are those spikes in your sugar levels. I know people who have, but we just have to, it means we have to focus on this. As we look at HIV and AIDS, you know, the statistics in recent times are nothing to write home about. When we look at, you know, diabetes, it just means that we have to do a lot more. Sometimes too, people affected by this put pressure on our system because their kidneys are affected. And when their kidneys are affected, you know, there are these gadgets. The name just skips me.
Is it
nephrology? But there are gadgets for, you know, those, I think, dialysis.
Dialysis, yeah.
You know, and all of that. And sometimes we have few of them. Very few hospitals have them. It's so expensive. It puts pressure on our health system. But let me bring in Ben Efson, managing editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Uncle Ben, a very good morning to you. Hello, Mr. Efson.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to our viewers.
Great. We've started off the conversation. We've looked in the Ghanaian Times at different stories. And we were just talking about those 10% of Ghanaians that supposedly are diabetic. That's according to the NDAC president. And we've also looked at that story. Kojo Brace, can you just help me? So let's reform UN Security Council. And the president wants a reformation for at least one African country to be there. And then Aisha Huang refused bail again. Any quick reactions before we move to other papers?
Well, I think I will deal with the issues of diabetes because I am one. And I would like to appeal to our viewers to be very careful before you get there. Because the nature of our job is sedentary. And you will be working a lot, but when you sit down after 30 minutes, take a walk. This is my 48th year in the job. When I was in the university, I was an athlete, playing volleyball, handball, and so on. The nature of our job, we journalists are seriously at risk. And I must say, without shame, that if you get there, you will have to be 120% careful. You must be checking your sugar morning and evening. Because if you get there and you even stop eating sugar, you may get an infection you may not be aware. And your sugar could get out of control. So if you are not there, I beg you, thank for being there. And when you are there, and you don't even put sugar on your tongue, please check your sugar morning and evening. The cost of buying equipment to check your sugar is far cheaper than the consequences of your sugar harming your organs, like Benson. So it is a very serious thing.
Well, coming from someone who has been there and done that, I mean, we can't underestimate this. And it goes back to the sort of ways in which we live. Like I said, mind what you eat, mind what you put into your body, whether drink or food. Also mind how you work out or not work out. Some of the workouts too may be excessive for your body. Know what to do. If it's aerobic exercise, you have to do, keep your heart running properly. I mean, there are so many things that we have to be looking at.
I mean, one thing is that if you have it, and you may decide never to take sugar, you may be doing exercises, please check your sugar. That is the thing, because once you are diabetic, sugar will hardly get into your system. If you get like UTI infection, you may not know. Your sugar will get out of control. You'll be hitting 21 for maybe 3 years. You haven't touched sugar.
Wow. And that is when you can go into shock. Your body could go into shock.
Oh, yes. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm begging viewers, if you are diabetic, don't say you stop eating sugar, you don't take soft drinks, so you will not check your sugar level. Yes, it is expensive, maybe the equipment to take your level, but it is not pleasant. If you get like a ECI infection, you could hit 20 without taking sugar for 2 years and exercising morning evening. It's not pleasant. So if you are not there, I beg you, prevent yourself from getting there.
And it's a very important point he makes as we move on, because even insulin injections, when you get there, you know the body naturally produces insulin.
Insulin, yeah.
When you become diabetic, sometimes the production is not exactly what it means. So you have to get injected. And an insulin shot, Charlie, in these economic times, I know people who ration shots. Ration, like I'm supposed to take a full shot, I'm taking half of that or something just to try and maintain my balance, but it's dangerous. So indeed, it's a real caution. We ought to prevent ourselves from it.
Yeah, we need to exercise more. Okay.
In fact, let's look at the Daily Graphic newspaper. Kwabre East constituents cry over neglect, story on page 18. It's 9 days to World Cup 2022 in Qatar. Of course, Qatar has faced a barrage of maybe inquests, criticism and all of that on their human rights record, on this and that. But even I think I saw Seb Blatter, I read a story where he admits that it may have been a wrong choice to choose Qatar. That's what he says.
Yeah.
But willy-nilly, like it or not, it is there, and we're going to play. My only, sadness, people have said that it's being played in the middle of, major leagues across the world, and that means people are prone to injury. And we've seen some big names prominently in Africa. Sadio Mane. I'm broken by that.
Yes.
It really hurt.
But I heard I've not seen the Senegalese team list, but I heard them say that they will give him traditional medicine and take him there. I'm waiting to see their list to know whether they're taking him.
This is a tendon issue, I heard, and it will take a number of weeks, and we're just 9 days.
It's so bad. I feel bad for money. I feel bad for money.
There's also terrorism in Africa. UN inaction fuels attacks. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. Majority-minority disagree on Ofori-Atta's censure, and NDC begins regional polls. Let's take a quick look at some of those stories. Let me start with the one on page 18. Kwabre East constituency is not only one of the politically active constituencies in the Ashanti region, but also hosts the dreaded Akan Shrine, Antwanyama. It is also known for its kente weaving exploits. The constituency is home to the Adang Womase Kente Weaving Center, and Tonsu Edinkra Carving Center, and the Ahia Woodcraft Center. The famous Antwa is a river god where people go to seek solutions to their problems. Now, the few town roads in the constituency are not tarred and become difficult to ply during the rainy season. However, the Member of Parliament for the area, Ms. Francisca Ting-Mensah, has assured her constituents that she is in constant touch with the Ministry of Roads and Highways to improve on the road network in the constituency. They talk about the economic impact and how politics has been played with them time and again. But President Akufo-Addo has said the inaction of the UN Security Council, which continues to contemplate whether and how to intervene in terrorist attacks in West Africa and the Sahel, fuels the spread of instability across Africa. He says, while it could be admitted that the political context for the Security Council's involvement was complex and the operating environment dangerous, the earlier a collective action was taken to support efforts to halt the incessant killing and annihilation of communities, the better. Let me just wrap with page 20, and I'll bring in Dr. Efsin and Kojo as well. That story about the majority and the minority. So, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagman, has referred the minority's motion on the vote of censure against the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, to an 8-member ad hoc committee to probe the allegations made against him. The committee, which was constituted by the Speaker in consultation with the leadership of the House, will assess the veracity or otherwise of the allegations made by the minority. But, Kojo and Mr. Efsin, you know that Article 82 of the Constitution states that Parliament may, by a resolution supported by the votes of not less than 2/3 of all MPs, pass a vote of censure on a minister. The minority felt that the Speaker, who is from their side, was in error. And I think the Chief Whip had a bit of a nasty altercation with the Speaker. Let me start with you, Ben. What are your quick reactions to this? The Kwabre East constituents crying over neglect. Then there is UN inaction fueling attacks, and the majority and minority issue over Ken Ofori-Atta's censure. Do you think Ken should stay?
That the minority, with due respect, have not been smart. You know, the president is behaving like today an MPP MP said in a letter to us that if Ken Ofori-Atta is sick, for example, everybody gets sick and it's on admission. Is he going to tell the IMF that we can recover, then we negotiate with you? No. Now, the majority has agreed with the president, whatever it is, out of respect, that Ken should leave at the end of negotiations with the IMF, which is basically about 6-7 weeks away. If I were an advisor to the minority, I would say, look, there's a proverb in trees that if you open the people who have skin diseases, they will say they haven't got soup to bath. Give them soup, they will not bath. In 7 weeks after presentation or after dealing with IMF, and the president does not sack him, I am very sure that this thing would have gone through because the majority in parliament would have sided with the minority. The minority went too far because by their posture, they really pushed the majority to see if they could disrespect the president. But if they had waited and...
Do you think, Mr. Efson, it's a matter of disrespect? I mean, the calls have not just come from the minority. The calls have come from people, CSOs, major people, stakeholders in this country who have said that Ken must go. In fact, yesterday I was just sitting here with the Member of Parliament for Ifija, Kwabre North, I believe, and he re-echoed that, look, there's a majority conclusion that he must go. It's just uncertain when exactly he will go. And the minority are saying they want to ensure, for the sake of Ghana, that the right thing is done because the president has not shown that he is willing to let go of Ken Ofori-Atta. Mind you, even when the majority came out and said that they had met with Mr. President, they did not say, there was no definitive timeline. Is it after the budget presentation? Is it after the appropriation? What exactly? No one knows. So can you fault them?
My understanding then is that they had agreed that the president said they should let him conclude with the IMF negotiations. And that is why an MP was saying that, well, the president behaving as if Ken is sick and is on admission, you tell the IMF to wait for Ken. But, you know, it's 7 weeks, 7 weeks away, or even 6 weeks away. That is when I think that the majority would have given the president, would have sent a signal to the president that, yes, you appoint people who will go back to our constituents to face internal elections within our party before we do the general election. So I think that this is where I think there was a bit of fault from the minority side, because all along, even though I'm not a member, I have friends on both sides, and I realize that many of the majority, if after negotiation with the IMF, the president has not sacked Ken, or Ken has not been asked to resign, perhaps on health grounds, the president would have been surprised. So the minority did not play their game well. They were hasty. But if it happens that way, then I can assure you that the majority will side with the minority for Ken to go.
Okay.
I think that the president is behaving like, with due respect, a typical second-term president. But this attitude, like going to Kwabre, saying that you can vote for NDC, and this attitude towards Ken, I don't think the president would have dared do it in his first term. But when presidents on their last term, I think they're a bit reckless, and this is a typical example.
All right. It's a bit reckless.
Yeah, but for me, I'm wondering why the finance minister himself has not voluntarily said, well, it's enough, I'll leave it here. Because from the
he says he's been through the pain.
No. From yesterday, I was asking, 2 days ago, I was speaking to the General Secretary and I asked him, the cries of Ghanaians, majority, you follow on social media, you follow on mainstream media, majority says this man should go. Why would he still be there against the will of Ghanaians? Who gave them the power?
Well, we have a different political system in terms of mindset. We don't have people. It's not commonplace.
No, you
to resign like that.
You say you went to school outside. You've had all the exposure out there.
Right.
Behave like them. I mean, if I were in his shoes, I would have gone by now.
When have our leaders through the Fourth Republic behaved that way? Never.
Well, I remember Charles Bishop said, "Okay, I'm going to step down. Investigate me."
No.
Yeah.
There was a directive.
No.
There was a directive. He did not voluntarily.
When his issue came, he decided to say, "I'm going to step down." But let's put it aside. The point is that if I were the finance minister, it is better for you to leave than to be hounded out.
Right.
That will destroy, your reputation. So I think that he should rather go. But when it comes to roads, even in my constituency, Hunter West, the road leading to our 3 paramounts are all bad. The one from Agron Kwanta to Buzia, terrible. Agron Kwanta to Disco, where we have 2 paramounts, is terrible. So really, something drastic should happen to our roads. But we say we don't have money too, so we pray for better days. Anyway, let's do the daily guide. MPP MPs to boycott Oforiatta budget faces parliament trial. I think that's an important story. Ex-store boss arrested in the UK. GNDA observes World Diabetes Day. I think we dealt with that. Apology to Wan Shandong. Agrada begs for bail term change. Now, members of parliament belonging to the MPP say they would boycott the 2023 budget presentation in parliament if Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta is not removed from office. Now, speaking for the MPs, Dr. Nana Yao Afriye, said the finance minister should not be the one to read a government budget statement and lead the appropriation thereof, indicating that they still stand by their word after the intervention by President Akufo-Addo. So, look, Ben, I think that is that. Again, let me deal with the tour boss arrested in the UK, ex-tour boss. Now, he says former managing director of Tema Oil Refinery, Asante Beku, has been arrested in the UK over his alleged involvement in bribes paid to some Ghanaian officials while working at the Goldman Sachs Group Incorporated, a US multinational investment bank and financial services company. He was arrested last week at Heathrow Airport in London and remains in custody on charges that he orchestrated bribes, having conspired with at least 2 Ghanaian officials and 4 others in a bribery scheme, Bloomberg reported. So that's it. So with the MP, goes to say that, I mean, the finance minister should know that his own house is rejecting him. If they reject him in parliament, who would support him when he comes to
There's a saying in the Bible,
budget?
a house divided cannot stand.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's quickly do the Daily Dispatch and Republic Press. The Daily Dispatch this morning, Minister of Agric's bizarre decision. You can check out details of that on page 2 of the paper. There's also NPP MP's call for repeat of our story. President, will you ask IMF to wait for Ken's recovery if he falls sick? That's a question, and we've already had some discourse on that. NBC Sami Jemfi apologizes to Samira Baumia for lying about her. In fact, Republic Press also carries that story. It has to do with the assertion that there is a V8 in her convoy that is solely for carrying makeup bags and makeup artists, and he's come out to apologize for that. President Akufo-Addo to grace GJA's award ceremony tomorrow. All of those major stories in the Daily Dispatch. But Republic Press, reduced ministers to 40. Professor Bachman to Akufo-Addo, and MPs mark Oforiatta Day. All of that in Republic Press. There's also Speaker sets committee to probe motion, that ad hoc committee of 8 people. Any quick reactions to those before we move on? I'm done with the papers I have. Mr. Epson.
Well, I think that basically Sami Jemfi's apology should set a signal to people. When you are in the politicians, when they are in the heat of speaking, they should leave a bit of their thinking cap on, maybe halfway. But you go and tell persons that second lady has a V8 full of only makeup kids and artists, it doesn't gel, And I think that maybe it's good that he apologized, but people look up to the politicians wherever they are, and they just must exhibit a bit more of decorum when they open their mouth. Some of them have very loose tongues.
Okay, let's do the find and just one story from there. Che Mensah wants to replace Oforiatta as finance minister. That's a question they're asking. Even before President Nana Akufo-Addo decided the fate of finance minister Ken Oforiatta, intelligence picked up suggests that some people are fiercely lobbying to replace him. This reveals the motive behind the call for Ofori-Atta's removal from office. As a group, the members of parliament who are demanding Ofori-Atta's removal have not provided names of possible replacement, but they have declared openly that they want one of their members to replace him. Majority caucus sources have hinted that some NPP MPs and some party leaders are backing Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu to replace Ofori-Atta.
What is Osei Mensah Bonsu's background? We'd have to check. What I know doesn't... I know at a point he had to read the budget statement because the finance minister was sick. But to serve as finance minister, I don't know. Of course, we've not had him come out and show face, openly lobby for the position. But I don't know about this, honestly. I don't know.
Well, Mark Esibe's name has also come up, so interesting.
I mean,
you know him. He was the former chairman of the finance committee.
In real terms, but he is no longer a member of parliament.
Yes,
no longer.
But his name isn't there.
Right. But I should think that looking at the names that the MPP has, they should really not struggle to replace Ken Ofori.
No, not at all. Not at all. They shouldn't. They have very incredible guys there who can do the job. So.
Right. Ben, you have the final word in some 30 seconds, so we wrap.
Well, I think that if Ken is to be replaced, perhaps I keep a former member of parliament, I've forgotten the name. He's no more in parliament. He used to be for one of the Koforidua constituencies. Osasibe.
We mentioned his name, Dr. Mark Osei.
Yeah, I agree with you. Osasibe could be the next finance minister.
Okay, and those are the words of Benefsin. Osei Asibe, Dr. Mark Osei Asibe could be the next finance minister. Mr. Efson, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much for the food. Have a blessed weekend to our viewers.
And we wish you the same. Kojo?
Yeah.
Fabum. Yeah, man. He's a solid guy.
So, in my hometown, in my language, you say, Yalabasi Kebuhaliye. Yamara Uwaya na Evayeho na Evera. So, to it, thanks for watching. Let's have a good weekend. God should protect us, take us wherever we're going, and bring us back. Yeah.
Bless you, Kojo. Coming up next is Prime Take. And this week, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi speaks to former Black Stars midfielder Lai Kingston. I've been personally waiting for this one. He shares the story of how he started out as a fishmonger and at the point almost ventured into boxing before football found him. Enjoy.